Greetings and welcome to a Monday edition of the Shotgun Start. It is March 17th. Andy, how we doing?
Brendan, I gotta say, it is Victory Monday for Ball Frogs fans everywhere. What a win! What a Players Championship!
You are making this a Ball Frogs victory?
Well, we aren't playing tonight or tomorrow, so we got to hold on to what we got.
All right, let's do it. Ball Frogs. My Jeep Blinks, we got nothing. We got Homa Mix, MC, and Young Tom Kim. One of my
favorite. A great game. Called a great game for you.
He called it a decent game. PJ, what do you got?
Some breaking TGL news. Wyndham has been replaced due to injury in tomorrow night's big playoff match for the Bay GC.
By a teammate, presumably,
yes,
right?
By Minwoo
free agent. Oh, the Chapinski boy who went from basically T1 going to the weekend to whatever, DFL almost. Yeah. Tom Kim, yeah, I don't have anybody. I enjoyed Tron's tweet about Tom Kim shouldn't be allowed to go back out for the restart last night. Getting some levity. It was a long final round resolution. I flew out yesterday, and I was like choppy streaming. Right, it would go in and out. I'm on the plane. There were several times Patrick Cantlay was over the ball that I thought the stream had frozen. It was a fun game on the plane. Like, is the stream gone or is that just Patrick Cantlay standing over the ball? But we finally got across the line here Monday morning with the playoff. We had a mini podcast Sunday night. Go listen to that. There were some takes that I think are evergreen and thoughts on Rory and Spaun. But obviously, we're going to provide a more full debrief here on the weekend that was after the three of us were all PJ's still down there, maybe never coming back. Flight changed. He's enjoying himself though, but we're back.
I think they're just trying to get him on the Champions Tour media team. You know, I think that's what's happening down there. He was eager to stick around. I was surprised I didn't hear PJ's voice asking Rory in the post presser more about him not wanting to play Champions Tour.
I considered it, and then I didn't want to bring shame to our family here. I didn't want to really make a public statement.
I think you would have enjoyed that question.
That. Yeah, you should have done that. The crusty old writers would have been so just aghast at who's this kid asking. You know, he's getting like, what about the heartbreak? What have you learned? What are you better at? And then just PJ comes into the paint with like, hey,
what's on Firestone?
Have you rethought the Champions Tour take from Tuesday? That would have been a great zag. I would have appreciated that. No, a great Monday. Not a good playoff.
Ernie's tweet change your mind about the Champions Tour?
Do you feel like you have to now answer the critics and commit to playing in 15 years from now since you've been popped back? Are you motivated by that? Do you have to? What's changed since Wednesday? A stinky playoff if you're really into like the competitiveness of the drama of it, but really interesting to watch given the wind and all that, the holes that are played, 16, 17, 18. Awesome holes for a playoff.
I think a stinky one if you wanted like drama. Sure. But at the same time, psychologically, if you're just like analyzing the psychology of a playoff, a fascinating one, like a truly amazing one, down to like Rory having the honor on the 16th tee and how much of an advantage that ended up being.
Did you like that?
I mean, yeah, you like it if you hit a 340-yard tee shot
up and over down the
just
middle.
A missile that your competitor is looking at like, I can't do that. I think
McGinley was mad about it. It's like he wants to go back to drawing little gold boys out of a hat to see who gets the honor. He was like, I don't know, because who's ever finished post first gets the honor now. That's a 2 or 3 year old change. But yeah,
I mean that was a huge advantage for Rory because it was just an immediate opportunity to throw the pressure on. I will say, like the back half, I was thinking about as a player, you probably wanted to be hitting second on 17 if it was like a all square situation. That was an advantage. I thought the playoff was fascinating. I know that it was one-sided. It was over on the second Spaun hit it in the water on 17, but I thought it was a really, really compelling playoff in terms of You know, I say this all the time. I think the amazing thing about golf is how it asks, no matter what, seemingly competitive golf, championship golf, ends up at the highest leverage moments asking questions that you don't want to answer, that you and for Rory McIlroy after Pinehurst, it was short putts. And down the stretch yesterday, he was asked to make short putts on 17 and 18. This morning, right out of the gate, he has a 5-footer that
16, yeah.
Really, the 16th hole, like, especially after 18, I don't think that was the best putt he hit on 18 yesterday. Caught the right side, dropped in, but it went in. Then he goes to 16, and he's got a 5-footer, and it felt like if he didn't make that, that's a terrible feeling walking to the 17th tee. And that was as good of a stroke as you could put on a 5-footer there, and right into the heart of the cup. I just I love how golf does that. And I think one of Spaun's deficiencies just in general, and he was great yesterday, is around the greens. That's been something that's held him back. He's in a bunker for the first time in the entire
green side bunker.
A green side bunker.
Yep.
Really simple shot. And he just hits that awful bunker shot.
Not good.
I mean, the reality is he hit awful shot. He hit 4 straight bad shots.
Not a lot of good ones there. And yet almost, like you said, Rory asking the question, almost came out of there with no blood on the first hole. And it was one, but they asked the question, he made it. So, yeah, I agree with you. It was a, Rory adds a lot of juice to everything, a lot of intrigue, given the history, given the recent history. But, it did all that today. It took it to a new level for me, even without the competitiveness. I really enjoyed it. But I think it speaks to a little bit of where this championship has ascended to in the modern media environment, that I would have been into that in a big way if it was Akshay and J.J. Spaun. Not as much as Rory and J.J. Spaun, but that is so that's the canvas you're given, the conditions you are given, the stakes you are given, would have been an awesome Monday morning watch. And then you add in Rory, and it's just supercharges the whole thing. Rory saying is the most nervous he's been in a very, very long time, standing on the 16th tee, a place that suits a hole that suits him well, right? It's a draw hole. He obviously hits it far, sets up great. It's a par 4.
Wind off the left too,
wind off
his, which is
down,
so ideal if you're going to hit a draw.
Right.
Yeah,
right?
down off his left. So
okay.
Pushing the ball right.
Yep.
So you can just hit a draw. He didn't really have to worry about turning it too much left.
Okay. I thought it was off his right. No? Wasn't it coming north from the west?
Was it off
I think so. North and northwest.
It was off his right. You're right.
I think maybe just a touch, but mostly down, like a big time down there. And it's the most nervous he's felt in I don't know. He said a very long time. All those and it's strikes at 340. It's a par 4 essentially for him. We've seen him hit it almost 400 yards there in May. I watched him hit a driver wedge from 143. He had in there in a Wednesday or Tuesday, 2023, walking with them. He hits a wedge today from 177, I believe. And he's off and run. But then again, like you said, still had to make the 2-putt for birdie. Then he says he's walking to 17, visualizing his ball going in the water. That hilarious ad we used to make fun of a lot that would run every 10 seconds. Like, that's the longest walk in golf, from 16 green to 17 tee. We might get to replay that one from now to next March, and resets himself there. It's just go ahead.
Quick on the visualizing it. I think one of the things, and I think it gets him in trouble sometimes, but Rory McIlroy is 100% the same with he gives the same responses. He's so earnest in what he gives the media. And I think sometimes that gets himself into controversies with how he's talked about Liv over the years, how he tells people what he's feeling. And I thought that was a moment where he was extremely vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of players would give us that, like that they were visualizing a ball going into the water there.
Probably doesn't say it if he loses.
But
maybe he does. Maybe he does. He's very open a lot of times.
I feel like that's something that someone would say on the couch with their sports psychologist.
Yeah.
But not really something that someone would say to a grouping of media, whether they win or not. Like, you're not getting that from Scotty Scheffler, and anybody who's played golf at a high competitive level would say that, would be thinking those thoughts on the way to 17. There's only such a small sliver of people that would actually admit to thinking that.
Yeah, I think this is really sort of an incredible sort of proof of concept for all that Rory has worked on, say, for 5 years now, maybe even a shorter time frame than that, right? He's changed and evolved. He said even in 19 he didn't really understand. The Prince of Pontevedra, by the way, is back. We can officially claim that title. Love Slam might be on the table again. He's won twice. He's got a SIG event.
I'm
Slam
sad,
could be on the table.
Sad that Rory has taken back the #1 player in the world ranking.
Oh, is he #1 in FedEx Cup?
Did he take took down a septic tank.
Well,
it's two greats going to duke it out the rest of the year.
Tank could get back on the horse quickly. He's going to play more than Rory. Sounds like Rory's going to play in Texas between now and the Masters, but just once. Tank might play multiple times and take that title back. But it was like a real proof of concept for all that he's worked on. It's a golf course that kind of asks you a lot of different questions. You don't just hammer driver wedge, though you can at certain points. You better hammer driver well. He didn't have his best stuff, right? There was wind. It's like all these elements, right? That he said, I've had to learn to play this golf course. He certainly learned that, probably in the last decade. I've had to adapt my game to it. I've had to learn to hit the 3/4 shot, right? Much more often in the wind. That got tested. Nerves got tested when there was real stakes. He's talked about that. I thought it was interesting. Gabby asked him about backing off the ball, or you're backing off a lot. You recall, or at least I do, LACC. I think it was 14, right? When he dumped it in the bunker there. And he's like, there was a gust and I should have backed off and I didn't. And he took that sort of learning for the next time. And, he said, I'm trying to back off. It was so gusty so often this week. And he used that. Again, it's just the off-season swing changes, right? In November and I guess maybe late October, November, where he changed that. The ball switch, right? In like a month and a half ago at Pebble, that maybe adapts better to the style he wants to play with, flighting the ball and not hitting it so high and in the right conditions. It just feels mentally, game-wise, physically like an incredible proof of concept for him. And winning without your best stuff, not just, at your peak powers like a Wells Fargo, right? And just going ham, but still winning. It's an incredible proof of concept.
I think this week was probably the crowning achievement of the evolution of Rory McIlroy over his now 17-year career as a professional golfer. The idea of constantly improving, constantly seeking out getting better, and trying to add dimensions to your game. I think that was kind of full on display with him winning I think without a doubt, without his ace stuff. He did nothing exceptionally this week. He putted very well. But Rory, it was not well. Yeah, the bot got in there. But he putted well, but it wasn't like anything earth-shattering. It wasn't like he gained 10 strokes on the field compared to everyone else. It was just it was a good week on the greens, but he did nothing exceptionally well. He did not do anything where it's like, well, of course he won. He did this. It was a week of showcasing the full display of everything that has improved over the years, from mindset to adding shots like the 3/4 shot to the mentality. The ability to embrace the nerves finish something off, overcome gusty winds and step off shots and everything. I think like one of the things in his post round that again, about the honesty, very few players give you this kind of stuff, but talking about how he was reflecting after the second round of the Masters last year in gusty, windy conditions. And he said, I didn't have all the shots I needed to shoot under par that day. And thinking about that,
yeah,
and then going, like so many, I think golfers blame external things for why they didn't play well. I think it's like a common trait among golfers, and self-awareness can sometimes be a bad thing for golfers. But looking at this and saying, okay, like I don't have all the shots I want to have. Let's work on getting those shots. And he talked about that sawed-off shot and where it bore its fruit. And it was like a clear, Rory had a shot that J.J. Spaun didn't have on 17. Simple as day. Rory hit a shot that had less ability to be knocked down by the wind because he was able to flight that ball in there low. So what he did was he minimized the amount that wind was going to hit that ball. So let's just say you take like a potential for the wind hitting a shot from like 20 yards to maybe 10 in terms of like the amount of impact that wind's going to have on that shot. That makes hitting 17th green a lot easier because he flighted it down low. It just like there was less that the wind could do to it, so you had less outcomes. Now it takes a lot of stones to hit a soft iron shot because you could give it just a little bit too much speed and it cuts right through the wind. But that's just like and then also the other thing when you're taking speed off, it's easy to come over a little and hit that hot pull.
Yeah.
But taking speed off there was the way you had to hit that shot if you wanted to consistently hit the right number. And that's all that shot's about, hitting the right number. J.J. Spaun, on the other hand, that thing had an apex, like a normal shot. He didn't have the confidence to hit the right shot in that moment. And you saw the wind did not hit it enough. That shot was reliant on the wind really hitting it versus Rory's coming in lower, less reliant on the wind hitting it because there was just less of a range of which that was going to fly. And it all goes back to him. What he said in this post-round press conference that was incredible was, I didn't have all the shots after the second round of the Masters to shoot under par. And that has driven him to continue to work on that little flighted wedge. And that was the difference. Like that was the game over there.
Yeah. The playoffs, the live show, playoffs felt empty without the numerous shots of Brennan in the crowd. I do not appreciate being branded a thirst bucket. I do not go look at PJ was there as our proxy. Can I talk about seven?
I got sent a gallery of photos that I'll post to the Instagram later of
like that.
The two of you being thirst buckets.
PJ? I don't like
and
that
PJ and Brendan.
I learned my lesson the hard way. I was way better today. I knew the bad spots. Listen, I'm still getting used to it out here. That's on me. Hand up. I acknowledge that was my fault.
Can we talk about 17 for real quick? Because I thought it was an incredible hammering home the point. We heard a lot about this week about AI setting up a golf course. Maybe got a talking to about AI setting up a golf course from the tour.
Should we go into what AI told me how you should set up maybe at the end?
Or playing in the SoFi Dome, which is a different thing. I'm not suggesting it's comparable. It's golfish, as I've said. But Rory's on the range, and I talked about this last night. I got some feedback from people about winning the middle eight, like how he's a football coach that you got to go into the half and out of the half, or the Warriors when they were hot. Someone suggested it was similar to like a guy who scripts plays, a coach who scripts the plays, and he used that to his advantage all week, right? Whether it's knowing I have the 91-yard wedge shot coming out of the rain delay, knowing what I want to do on one, knowing what I want to do on two, and what wind. And he did this morning. he goes and Sean Martin documented it great on Twitter. Starts like hitting it basically, down the range line. He said towards third green for the 17th shot. 16, I think, would be similar-ish to the normal natural direction of the range. Ripping driver there. Probably more towards whatever it would be, like 18 and 10, that direction over that way. And Spaun said he did the same. He's like, look, I set up the track, man. It's kind of interesting. Like, all this information can be a blessing and a curse. And by and large, the game has been more manufactured, right, in that way, right? Less chance, and that's just the evolution of technology. Less variance of outcomes. And he's like, I was hitting this shot. It was saying this on the TrackMan, that it was going whatever it was, 137. And that's what we were going to hit. But, like, golf doesn't exist in a dome. It doesn't exist on a TrackMan. AI can't manufacture the outcome every time.
It also can't simulate what the grandstands are going to do, because that was the difference.
Yes. And so it goes, he hits the same shot. He's like, I don't know what happened. I literally don't know what happened. I hit it the exact shot that the TrackMan was spitting out the number to me on the range. And I hit it. I thought it was in the bunker short. I couldn't even believe it went through the wind. This is golf. It cannot be manufactured. Rory makes 450 out of 450 putts from whatever distance he did before he got to 16 at Pinehurst. Like, sometimes shit gets a little wacky, or it doesn't read exactly how it did on the TrackMan. And that's what I loved about what you're saying, taking some of that height off of it to limit both the hot ball.
Yeah, it limits how far the ball can go.
Yeah.
It was just such a smart shot.
Yep.
Because the amount, if it's well struck, well executed, there's just so much less margin of what the wind can do to it, a gust can do to it. It was a brilliant shot, and it was the complete opposite shot that Spaun hit.
Right. And Spaun looks, he hit a 9. I don't hit it as far as him. I'm taking the 8. This is what I was hitting, and this is what the TrackMan was saying. And that's what we love about golf, right? Because it can't be totally AI every time. The air might do something different.
It's also why we have to have great weather conditions for these. Like, why great weather conditions in the modern game bring out the best talent, because it becomes a Saturday. Today, it became really like who's got the most shots, who can manage their game, manage their misses the most, who can think their way around golf courses the most. But at the end of the day, the difference in this playoff became who had one shot and who didn't have one shot. And that's one of the beauties of, like, 17. I know that some analysts on Golf Channel doesn't really like 17. He's been very critical of the fairness of it. At the end of the day, it asks a very, very difficult question, and especially in the wind. And the question in the wind is, can you control your number in a fierce wind, whether it's down or against? And they're completely different shots. And then across, likewise. And Rory McIlroy had supreme. I cannot believe that thing got to where it got on the green. It was incredible how far back it got. Like, when that landed, I was like, holy cow. I mean, that was an incredible shot. That was everybody's talking about the drive. That iron shot was one of the best iron shots in consideration of the pressure with the wind and the situation. Like, that was an extraordinary iron shot. And
the 9 iron, yeah,
to me was the best shot that was hit in the playoff.
There's some to choose from. He talked about his second shot, 4 iron on 2. That kind of, I mean, you talk about a game of, like, quarters, right? That was like the first quarter, like, boom, we're up, and it's like that opening script of a playoff game. I thought that deserved a better fate. It was, like, right on line with the pin. He made the eagle to make it work. A lot of people will cite the shot at 6 yesterday. Cite the shot at 18 on Thursday night, right, where he just cuts it up from the right half of the pine straw. So So you're just seeing like a lot of different ways when you're not playing your best, missing a shit ton of fairways, not driving it particularly great for him at a course that like you're not supposed to be able to do that. Like Scotty showed us the blueprint in a resounding way the last 2 years. Cam Smith, I think, like lost some insane amount of strokes off the tee when he won. And it's like a crazy, like nobody else ever has done that. And Rory didn't lose. He didn't lose strokes off the tee, but for him, it was not. I think he lost. It was under a shot gained off the tee, which for him is very rare to then go win. But that's what Sawgrass can deliver, right? Where maybe you don't have to gain everything off the tee. And so just like a really, as I would say, like an incredible proof of concept. I think, you know, there's gonna be a lot of big picture like bullshit talk that people do because they do that with Rory and Tiger and people like that. And Rory now, he's won. I think I was counting. I think he's won like 14 or 15 times since we started this podcast, like an insane amount. And we're not like any line of demarcation. It just was trying to think of how much he's won since then. It was crazy. Like first half, he won a lot more majors, but won often less, right? And now he's like not won the majors, been close a billion times, but he's winning way more and won 2 players now. I think the immediate discussion turns to Augusta, as much as that may seem facile and sort of cliche. They cited the stat he's won twice before April now for the first time on the tour. It's sort of it's an incredible career that's elevated by this win, the way he won. I don't know to what level we're doing this. You know, we've talked about it's worth a half a major. It's very significant. And I just I hate that we always like jump to what does it mean for the next one or what does it mean for the resume, but that is sort of a natural way you go with Rory, especially at this point. I thought it was interesting on Friday. I watched Scotty and he were talking about each other, playing with each other, and like Scotty's like, "Yeah, I am the best player in the world." He didn't say that himself. He doesn't like necessarily boast all that way, but you know, I have the best last 2 seasons. It was like I've watched Rory when I was like 11 and 12. And Rory talked about that. Like I've kind of been doing it since Scotty was AJGA stuff. And here he is. He beat Jim Furyk in his last players win in 19. So Furyk played against.
Do you think
probably
Furyk
Russ
would
Cochran,
consider him a friend for his Champions Tour when he gets on the Champions Tour?
A friend of Jacksonville area now. So, and we've talked about this for a long time. Rory never really falling out of the top 10. Winning the breadth of people. He's the best modern player post Tiger, and
I don't think
consistency and longevity are a big part of that.
I want to say he hasn't been out of the top 15 in the world ranking since like 2010 or something. Right. I mean, it's insane.
And we're kind of at a point where if he's not like top 10 at a major, then he either got like some crazy side of the weather draw, or it's just it's a shock, where that wasn't the case really in like 15, 16, 17, like he was kind of like, you weren't surprised if he was not a factor at the major.
Did you see this Kyle Porter tweet about Rory's last 25 worldwide starts?
Yeah, what was it, like 5 wins, something like that?
5 wins, 3 runners up, 14 top 5s. 14 top 5s and 25 starts. I mean, that's insane. 22 top 25s. So only 3 times has he not finished in the top 25. One of those would be the Open last year, right?
Yeah.
One miscut. Now, like, if the only way this gets like kind of like swept under the rug is if somebody wins like 9 times, which Scotty did. Mm-hmm. But the bar, and I think like the other thing is like I think it's pretty clear that Scotty's year last year has pushed Rory to a higher level.
Yeah.
And that's just a natural thing with sports. When one player in any sport raises the level of the bar, the hyper-competitive elite athletes around them typically go to work and raise their level of their game. And I think we're seeing a level of play between Scotty and Rory. I mean, like, it's crazy. You could tell how frustrated Scotty is. And it's because he's used to winning like every other week.
Had quote unquote bad week. He was T20, like really frustrated and pissed off, but still like gaining strokes everywhere and top 20. It's kind of, that's his standard now.
But these two, and maybe not Xander right now, but Xander last year have really set up a new level if you want to be considered at the top end of this game. Yeah.
And a really deep era. I know. I think Rory. Somebody asked Rory, like, "Do you think we're going to see a 30-win career anymore?" And he's like, "Yeah, it'll happen." And he gave like a deferential answer, but it is indisputably the most deep era of golf. That's generally how sports work. It's not necessarily specific to golf, but it is indisputably the deepest, hardest to win era of golf. And he's now done it 30 times across multiple generations. And even when he's not winning, he's stayed in the top 10. So this means something for the resume, but and God, a lot
definitely
of
means. I mean, four players that have won multiple majors and multiple players is great list. Jack, Tiger, and Scotty and Rory. I mean,
and I think this event is only going to probably grow in stature. I know
is it going to be a major in 15 years?
I don't know. The PGA keeps going to Quail and Valhalla. No.
Can I break up the seriousness here for something that just came across my desk?
Yeah. What flew across?
I was looking for Kyle's tweet. I came across another one of his tweets. Rory went on set with Johnson to hit the shot on 17.
Just now? Okay.
Just now. And Johnson said, "If I hold this out," and apparently Rory said, "Can you go toasty into the water?"
Toasty may be the star of the show before Sunday, Monday. Like we'll always have Toasty. Yeah, I just I'll go back to the whole proof of concept thing. This shit travels. Whatever he did today, it travels. Winning without your best, playing different shots, playing in conditions, playing at a place that makes you have to be pretty great. It's pretty good to great everywhere except necessarily putting, right? If you're gonna win, you will have putted above average probably, but that's the only part of the game that isn't like a super test at Sawgrass because the greens have been dulled down by the tour player whining and complaining over the years. But an incredible showing, and Monday was great. You talked a little bit about hitting driver on 18. A lot of people like, what is he doing? Why is he doing this? Yeah.
You know what PJ told me this week?
What?
PJ got into me. My boss PJ was all over me at dinner earlier this week. He said, "I need more from you on Twitter." And I informed him that I recently purchased a product that was designed to get me off social media more.
What? No free ads, I guess. Okay. I've been looking at stuff like that.
I got this brick.
I've been looking at getting that.
I love it.
Is it? Okay.
I just got it.
All right.
I turned it on last night. I went all night without it because I just couldn't do it. I'm leaving it in my office. But PJ told me I need to be more on. And that was the result of PJ. That whole tweet right there.
So explain it here? Like
PJ, what was your reaction when what was your reaction when I told you right after you needed more from me?
That you got the brick?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I could replay that reaction. I think I just immediately threw my head in my hands like as hard as I possibly could.
I'm getting one. I'm not. I tweet a lot the last year. I need to get the hell off of it. You can have my account. You can have Andy's account. And just
I
don't think the people want to hear that. People don't want to hear PJ's behind the tweets coming.
He's got better takes than all of us. He's fine.
So anyways, all right. I was thinking about this. My natural reaction was hit an iron. But the more I thought about it, I think the driver was like the smart play. You rarely miss a driver left. The trouble is on the left. And one of the things that you want, that hazard, the way it cuts, right? With Rory, combined with Rory's distance. The driver, if you're going to hit a ball left, the driver's the most likely club that's going to cover land if it goes left. Like the one thing you had to avoid in that situation, 3 up there, you had to avoid hitting it in the water and having to take a stroke and distance penalty, like effective re-tee. That was the one thing, the catastrophic situation, because if you just hit it mile right, the worst thing, like you're just chipping it back into the fairway, hitting a lob wedge into the fairway, and you're like resetting there. But with the driver, if you had hit an iron, say you hit a 3-iron or a 5-iron or whatever.
3-iron yesterday.
So if you hit a 3-iron there and you just hit a hot pull, it's not covering any land. Like if you think about JT a few years ago, if he hadn't have gotten that straight bounce or the right bounce on that quacker he kind of hit, he's still dropping where he's hitting an iron into the green. And he's still going to have a putt at par. So with Rory hitting driver there, the likelihood of covering some land was so high. And also he gets past the bend point with the driver, right? So if you look at how wide the land area is with a driver, it is huge. It is massive. It's like 120 yards. All he has to do is aim up like the right cart path and just blast it, right? And that's effectively, I think, I would love to know the exact target on that, but it looked like he was just aiming up the cart path.
Yeah.
And so, people are like, oh, it brings double into play. Like, okay, if that brings double, like what brings double immediately into play is hitting it in the water.
So yeah, I agree. He hit 3-iron yesterday. Different wind. Wind was down. It was in and off the left, in different situation where you're up with this amount of holes and what's the worst. Trying to just game manage.
I think if it was all square, I think he would have hit 3-wood.
Yeah. What about what I'll call affectionately the Luke Potter ball? Wasn't that the whole problem with the practice round? It was, he's essentially dropping at the top of the tee. I guess that's alleviated when you aim at the cart path. That kind of takes the Potter ball out of play.
It might have been in play, but then it would have probably, if he's aiming at the cart path and he hits the Luke Potter ball, he's probably going to cover some land on the left.
If
it goes in the water, even if it goes in the water.
Yeah. Yeah. Which he was hitting driver, I believe, for that. Maybe his only I don't know, the slip up, or I don't know if it's negative at all. I don't know. If somebody comes to the rope, well, whoever they are, and this one became a story because the kid was a player, and like says shit to me, and I'm not a professional golfer, nor will I ever be one. It would be hard for me to not be like fuck you, or like go to him and say something.
I think people thought he just like stole his phone and walked away. He gave it to a security guard.
It's just a weird thing to say. It was probably too rabbit earsy, I guess, but it was weird on a practice round to be like dealing with that, and I would be pissed. Now I walked with him on Saturday for 9 holes, and he was hearing it a little bit, I think, and it was tense, not with him, but with security and the crowd. Like they had a quick hook with people saying stuff, and some of them were like, I don't get the motivation to pay for a ticket and come and stand on a rope line and say a bunch of stuff like that and just be a jerk off. I've definitely gone and rooted against teams in more adversarial setting, right? If I shouted at whoever, the Steelers or something, but it got tense, I would say, but not with him. He was kind of like in his tunnel on Saturday, and like whatever happens. It's just blew up though. Definitely blew up.
I think like the whole situation, I don't think with Tuesday, I don't think anybody involved in the situation is happy with like how it went down.
Yeah.
You know, I think like
Yeah.
Rory's dealt with hecklers his entire career. And I think that's a moment where, maybe he just hit that ball left and he was like unhappy and he just, he just couldn't hold it in. Right. Luke Potter, I think that's something he's going to regret the rest of his life.
Maybe not.
A moment.
Yeah.
And I think like it's, you think about like, I feel bad for him because, like you're a 20-year-old kid. When I was a 20-year-old kid, I did a lot of stupid stuff. I think most people when they're 20 years old do idiotic stuff. And that's one that's going to stick with them for a long time. I can't believe someone who like conceivably could be playing inside the ropes in 2 years, 3 years, was saying that. Rory obviously didn't know who he was when he went and grabbed the phone and gave it to the security guard. And I think like I don't think anybody was like thrilled with how the whole situation went down. And I think like one of the things that's crazy is the way modern media works. Like it was inevitable that a video was going to come out about it, because what happens when any big time player walks to tee boxes, everybody gets their phones out and films them.
I watched it on Saturday. Some kid was being a complete clown on the 6th hole. And like the security went at him. The security looked big boy looked like he wanted to go. And I think he could
challenge Sepp in the Oklahoma drill. That security guard.
Could. Yes, I'm a big boy. I like to, he would take me in a half a second, but he wanted to go. And then, but when he went to the guy, there was his 4 buddies were there with their phones on the whole. Like it's just everything's going to get out. It's not really a Rory problem necessarily as much as like the vibes are weird with that's like Ted Scott threw out fans multiple times. We had Ricky go at someone at Honda a week ago. I know Joe Beal wrote about this for Digest, and I don't think the tour has been thrilled with sort of the narrative around like fan, and it's only going to be. I mean, Bethpage is going to be
Man, we sure are spitballing, aren't we, Rich?
The Euros are I think going to have a full plan for it sounds like the security, like each group will have multiple guys in outside the ropes. The players won't have to think about it, but it's gonna happen. So that I don't know if there's certainly a narrative of whether it was just the Rory thing this week, but
well, what about Scotty in the press conference? I think it's just an interesting. I think some of the between Morikawa, Scotty,
Morikawa, the Brandel fight with Brandel, and again, I defended Morikawa. There was a bad line about I don't owe anybody anything. He got destroyed for it. Yeah, it could have gone away. I think some of the handling of these things, they're like Streisand affecting them, right? Like making it bigger. Why did he? It was like this unintended, like I don't know. It was a soliloquy that he hadn't been asked about at the end of his press conference. I thought he was great in his pre-tournament one. He just had that one bad line, and I excuse him not talking at Bay Hill. I would have preferred it, but it was a weird.
He went back in for more. He won.
Fans.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you just don't go in for more with Brandel. As someone who's gone in for more. He's like a dog with a bone.
He's got the megaphone too. Every night you don't. He's gonna be up there.
He's gonna steel man you.
He's got Socrates, the quote. He's got Nietzsche, something like that, ready to go, pop back at you. Yeah, but a weird week. I think people are like, "Hey guys, like it's your product. Take care of it." And talking to the press or dealing with the fans in a way it's not always adversarial might be better for the overall thing. Just weird, but it was overall. I was so pumped for this players, and it delivered.
It's part of the online culture, I think, though, is some of the stuff with like what happened with Rory is starting to like. I think when Twitter and social media came about, there was this, nobody would ever act like this in person with someone. No one would ever say this to your face. Yeah. And I think over time, as typing has become more and more how we interact in general, and face-to-face seems like it's less and less how we interact. It's become more and more normal for people to say what they would say online face-to-face.
So do more people need to get punched in the face?
Well, that's not an option anymore either because of the cameras.
Giver. Yeah.
Like, I feel like assault charges are way more prevalent today.
It's
You used to get popped. You used to get hit in the face and nobody pressed charges. But
nice benefit for the Monday morning trophy presentation was Jay didn't get booed like he has in the preceding couple of years. He didn't have the lusty booing that most commissioners have to deal with.
Through some stuff there.
Yeah. Somebody said Jay. Somebody characterized him as having senioritis, like he's just chilling now. And that they like, I know we talked a lot about this beforehand in the Wednesday podcast. Is like, it does feel like the tour. They've got some people going to mind in their P's. I feel like they're on the other side of all the existential threat, and they're kind of not chilling, but there's a little bit less tension than there had been in prior years. And Jay's just sort of,
you know what he might be doing?
Angsty. Yeah.
Everybody got their equity. They often say the stage in which a founder sells their company to the next company, and then they have to work at said company for a while.
24 months or whatever.
They call it resting investing. Maybe Jay's in his resting investing stage.
Feels a little bit like it. It's not to say he's not, trying to push forward, but just from the whole White House stuff, we'd heard they had draft agreements to announce the whole thing. Like, oh, well, you're going to be like hardball. Just, we're good. We can keep going like this. It's fine. So a good week, I think, for the PGA Tour. And they obviously get a very good champion.
It was a great week. Great week for the PGA Tour. I think the weather was just phenomenal. You got like kind of everything you want in a tournament. Lots of different weathers. Obviously, the Monday finish was not ideal. The Sunday, like I can't wait for the live accounts to beat around Sunday ratings. That's bound to happen because their ratings in Singapore are going to be so good. Watching world number 1, Joaquin Neiman.
Per Phil, the best player in the world. I thought
that is going to happen. Is the rating like outside of like what happened to Sunday's telecast and how it was like all over the place in terms of like when it was on, people didn't know that were common fans to tune in, and Monday being on a Monday, Thursday to Saturday in terms of like the weather with a little bit of variety, like it was pretty calm for the days that they need to get this giant field around the golf course. And then Saturday, the second it reduces down to a small field, it gets like wildly tough, and you really start to see who the contenders and who the pretenders were.
Yeah. To that point, I would say the coverage Sunday was awesome. I was watching the play. It was great. Now the ratings probably weren't good because it's noon and 10 a.m. and early and all that stuff. I thought NBC did a good job. I was amused by they persisting with the 4-man even odd booth for a freaking 3-hole playoff where like Faxon and Terry, you're in for 17. All right, out. They brought them all back.
The 4-man booth, I think, needs to be reevaluated.
Yeah.
They can't. I like everybody, but there's so many voices that nobody gets in a rhythm, including the viewer. Like, I'm not in a rhythm with, like, I don't know who's coming on to talk because there's so many voices. And then said voice doesn't ever talk long enough to make a great point. Like, one of the beauties of, if you think about our best telecasts, like, and I think people would say CBS right now with Trevor Immelman. Like, for the most part, you know who's going to talk about analyzing the golf shot. And they are going to talk about it very well. With NBC, it's like, who's going to come on? And I like everybody on NBC, but I don't know who's going to come on to talk. And, you know, Johnny Miller, it's like the opposite of their best telecast, which was Johnny Miller. Like, okay, Johnny's going to come on and, like, go, you know?
Right.
So I just think that there needs to be something straightened out with, like, because, like, the playoff, it was, like, perfect. It's like, Fax and Kiz are trying to kick it to each other, but like two people sharing that time to analyze the golf is really hard.
You got Smiley on the ground. You got Bones. You got all these people.
John Wood.
Wood had the day off, I guess, for a 3-hole playoff. Yeah.
Well, he had probably.
there's two guys.
He had team manager. He was scouting J.J. Spaun, who's now 6th in the Ryder Cup standings. It's
incredible. I felt bad for him. Is it in the bunker?
Should we talk
Where
about
is
Spaun?
it? Sure. I mean, he was wildly impressive.
He's 25 in the world.
With him on Saturday. Great play. Thought that putt was going in on 18 and we weren't going to even have today. I was wildly impressed. They come out of the break and he hits out a turn, makes bogey. Rory makes birdie at 12. And you're like, it's over. Curtains, but he birdies 14. An incredible, very, very, very hard hole to birdie and gets back in it. Almost closed it out on 18. So yeah, do I think he's going to stick around and be on the Ryder Cup? Probably not. He was not very good today. A bad bunker shot, bad shot on 17. 18 was a mess. But after an incredible week.
After last year's 3M,
he
was 165th in the world rankings.
Okay.
And now he's up to 25.
Yeah, congrats to him. I don't have a whole lot to say. The big point I wanted to make was on 17, but he was watching him take it to Rory on Saturday was impressive. Round. Like staying with him and taking it like the fight to him. I don't think anyone was expecting, people playing with Rory in those rounds, and Rory was having his own issues, just keeping it, on the fairway and stuff. But I was wildly impressed that he hung around and just pushed it forward, pushed the pace.
I think for Spaun, he didn't make a putt outside of 7 feet all day on Sunday. And that's going to be the thing that kind of sticks with him, is that he had so many of those like second putts or putts after a chip that were in that like kind of like 8 to 10 foot range that he just could not cash in. And he had a couple just, and I think that's the thing that prohibited him from winning. Like, I think I as I've thought about it more, it's like Rory absolutely had a reason to feel like he should have won in regulation, but I think Spaun had just as much regret. Whether it's how he played 11, whether it was some of the misses earlier in that round that he didn't make, especially after the way he set himself up on Saturday, where he made everything. He had just like an incredible day on Saturday.
I mean, what about Akshay? He should have been in the playoff. Like, big ups
Saturday.
Big ups, big week. Yeah.
Saturday was a disaster.
The last group were a mess, but he misses a 5-footer at 16 and misses a 8-footer at 18, and he's 12 and in the playoff.
What about the bunny he missed on 2 on Saturday, which then sent him into a tailspin for like 4 holes.
Well, I think playing with Dr. Trapinski too wasn't really good for the vibes over on that last pairing.
I've got an idea for Dr. Trapinski. Like, I think this could send his vibes and his fanfare to like a whole new level. I've been thinking about it all weekend. I was going to tweet about it, but I didn't want to give it away for free.
What? Well, okay. So subscribe to Good Walk Coffee for this precise take, because we're not giving it away for free. You got to go to Good Walk Coffee. You got
to listen to the pod for this idea.
Okay.
He should install like a early 90s car phone on his bag. He should get a custom bag with the car phone. And when he chips in, he can pick up an actual, like that Gordon Bombay car phone from Mighty Ducks.
Put a brand on it. Lululemon or whatever they've got to sell.
And he phones in. PJ, what do you think about the idea? As a you're right in the Minwoo.
What do you even know what the old school car phone looks like, young PJ?
I know what a car phone looks like only for movies and television. I can't say I think I've ever been in a car with a car phone, but I think if you're Minwoo, I think the Dr. Chapinski stuff is the best thing you got going. You got to lean into it. I think you gotta steer into. I'm in on this. The bag should have a detachable phone. Absolutely.
I mean, like, how cool would it be if it was on the bag? It's just.
You can get a Dr. Chapinski hotline, get one of those like automated messages people can call after they call in. I mean,
I'm still not clear on who's Chapinski and who he's calling and why is he calling if he's the doctor, is he calling the patient? I still don't know,
how he calls after it goes in.
After it goes in, but I would love the idea.
Not before.
The old Velcro where it's like Velcro to the middle between the two seats on top, and you take it off the bag and it's got the cord. You punch in the tactile numbers,
like a big ass car phone.
I don't mean to go negative on Akshay, by the way. He had a great week, elevated himself, but that was a bad. He should have been in the playoff or could have been in the playoff. Go ahead.
Also, with Midwoo, I don't think anybody's got more scaries for Sawgrass. We'll call them weekend Sawgrass scaries than Midwoo at this point. The two times that he's been there in the position, it has been bad.
Not a good situation. Not a good situation.
I loved how they were like this 2-iron. The whole pre-telecast on Saturday was about. You guys probably didn't hear this. Like how much the 2-iron was going to be a weapon. Like this 2-iron is such a weapon for a Minwoo.
Yeah.
He's gonna dismantle everybody with this 2-iron. Other people don't have it, and then it was a total disaster. But anyways,
the question of is he a better screen golfer versus real golfer is still appropriate, still out there. We'll see at the Bay on Tuesday night.
But back to Akshay. Again, we talked about Rory overcoming, like asking the questions you don't want to answer. Akshay Bhatia has become a borderline world-class player in the game of golf, largely because of his putting has gone with the broom has gone from very, very bad, one of the worst on tour, to very, very good. But the thing that fell apart for Akshay on the weekend was the putter. And it's just like one of these things that you have to get over. And the confidence, the confidence isn't fully there. I think it's going to get there, but this is like kind of a new trait, a new kind of skill that he's still like, and he hadn't been in that big of a moment. I think Akshay, he's only 23.
23, yes. Skip college, right to pro golf.
I think you can make an argument he's the best player in golf under 25. Under 25.
That's a discussion for a different day, maybe. Luke Clanton,
but
hasn't necessarily done it yet at the real professional level.
He's not a pro yet either.
Yeah.
So
Blades Brown, Miles Russell. I'm kidding. Yeah.
But the fact that he's only 23, I think age gets lost so much in this. And I don't know necessarily. I don't think it's like I put this poll up and it was like overwhelming Ludwig being who's gonna. My question was who ends up with more PGA Tour wins, Akshay or Ludwig? And it was overwhelming Ludwig.
Yeah. He's got 2-1, right? Already
2-1. And I think, but like, I also put the ages in there. Akshay's 2 years younger.
Yeah.
Full 2 years younger. And it's like, I think Akshay's been, the thing that's amazed me with him is how much better he seems to get every year. I think he took another step forward this year. And I wouldn't be like completely set that without a doubt, because I think tee to green, Akshay was the most impressive player this weekend.
He was awesome. I
don't think this is just like a lock barrel. Like I would still say that I think Ludwig's probably going to be better or going to be a better player, but I don't think it's just like a case is closed. Like Akshay, how old Ludwig was still in college at this point in Akshay's age. You know,
He was awesome in a very challenging players, not an easy one, right? This was like a challenging, show the full skill, show the full bag, and he should have been in the playoff. I will maintain that those putts at 16, 18 were
not to mention after what
painful.
happened early on Saturday, so many young players would pack it up and send it in. I'll tell you, like, if we're getting to emptying out the notebook, are we at that stage? God, this is a long pod.
Beyond that stage, we did one Sunday too. Go ahead.
How about Zalatoris?
What about
I've never seen someone go from like after 13. I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna win the tournament. Like, this guy's playing the best. Holy cow! The putting stroke looks so much better than it ever has.
Dude.
Looks like really good. And then, like, I've never seen a situation just completely implode a player faster.
I mean, you got a couple bad, like, quote unquote bad bounce on the one that hopped in. I think it was it 14? I can't remember. It hopped in. It was tricky. But yes, it was gone. Finished 30th when it seemed like in another skill set suited for this championship. Big shout out to Danny Walker and Bud Cauley, alternates that got in the field. Danny Walker for Jason Day, literally morning of Thursday. Cauley for Lee Hodges at the very start of the week. I was jamming them. I was like, God, this can't be a major with like Bud Cauley doesn't even have status. Hand up on that one. Like, judging a field by the very bottom is like an overall field is not necessarily an accurate or good idea. But I loved following them. I was so into like invested in them doing well. The story of Danny Walker, played at UVA, was working at like Bahama Breeze. I forget who was tweeting about it as like a waiter or server, and was going to be done with golf. And it was January 1st, like midnight. He was working at Bahama Breeze on like New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. He's like, what the hell am I doing with my life? I got to try this. And he made whatever he made, 800 grand or something this week. I was really invested in both of those guys doing well. And that's, I mean, Rory and Spaun and Rory are basically the same age. They're like 18
Did you see
apart.
That graphic with the starts? I couldn't believe how similar their PGA Tour starts were. They flashed it. They flashed it right at the start of the playoff. Yeah. Rory has like 20 more starts than him in his career on the PGA Tour.
Spaun? Yeah. I mean, they're the same guy with the trajectories are just
Spaun
wild.
Just plays 30 times a year.
Right. I mean, he won on the Gateway Tour. He won at Canada. He's just had to, was like a nothing prospect. I think he walked on San Diego State out of LA. It's just, I don't know. This championship can bring out, quote unquote, the mules, right? And then the alternates in this case. I was really invested in both those guys, Walker and Cauley. Shout out to them. How about the number one player in the world? Real OWGR.
Wait,
Scotty.
Well, hold on. Before we get there, I gotta say it was disrespectful how few shots were shown of the number one player in the world, Sepp Straka.
The tank.
When you're the number one player in the world, I want shot by shot, and I was disappointed that NBC did not acquiesce with Sepp around contention. If that was Rory or Scotty, it was every shot would have been shown. This is the number one player in the world.
Yeah.
Was the number one player in the world. Sadly, Rory has taken that throne from the tank. But the good news for the European Ryder Cup team is number one and number two in the world are Euros.
What about Scotty in the OWGR? A frustrating week. He was very testy with the press, was testy. I saw him smack the hell out of his bag with his iron at number 6 on Friday. Obviously had a number of interactions with Ted where he was sort of incredulous, very frustrated. Roy talked about, like, there was no pressure on Spaun necessarily today. Like, the entire thing is, does Rory fail or does Rory succeed? And that's the story both ways, right? And Spaun knew that. And that's the burden of success, right? If you're good, the expectations continue. Tom Callahan in his book on Arnold Palmer was had this line about, like, the least talked about burden is the burden that comes with success, the attendant anxiety that comes with winning, not necessarily losing, right? So, like, you can be scarred by a loss, right? And you can be, have a bugaboo by a loss, But they talked about with Palmer, like he won at Cherry Hills so early and so soon. He's like, had I not won that, would I have been like more, I don't know, motivated or more locked into, and I would have won 4 or 5. Like there's a burden that comes with winning. And we see it a lot with these guys. Hovland going on right now. Rory, obviously, from his earliest days. And Scotty's sort of feeling that right now. He's not going to win 9 times every year. And so the expectations raise, and the T20 finish in which he's overall, by and large, a positive week, has him pretty frustrated and has people wondering, is Rory the number 1 player in the world right now? Like it's subjective. Is he the best player right now?
I think unequivocally right now, he's the best player in the world. And we've seen this change. Like, and obviously nothing's going to change in the world rankings for a while, but I did see that he picked up 2 points in the OWGR, which, I mean, Scotty had like an insane gap. Just to put it in perspective, Scotty is still 4 points, 13.86 average to Rory's 9.86. But, you know, Rory's opened up a huge margin in terms of like second to fourth, right? He's 3.5 points ahead of Colin Morikawa, which is a huge margin, and almost 2 full points ahead of Xander Schauffele. I think the thing going on with Scotty right now is he did not get into the season the way, I mean, Scotty more so than any pro golfer is a creature of habit, right? He does like everything the same. And because of the injury to the hand, it changed how he starts a season. The other part about Scotty is that golf is an expectation management exercise. It is for every player in the world, every single one of them, whether you're a 30 handicap or Scotty Scheffler, golf comes down to expectation management. It is so easy to get frustrated in golf when you're not playing the way you think you should be playing. And I think one of the things that's happened with Scotty Scheffler is that his expectations have gotten a bit warped by the last year. And it's inevitable in human nature when you win 9 times. You basically won every other start last year. That is going to warp the expectations that you have going into a week. And he's played really steady, good golf this year. He has not won, and you can see that frustration mounting up. It makes me wonder, like, do we kind of need to see him win something in Texas before the Masters? Part of me thinks he needs it for his mojo, for his attitude.
He has generally feasted from like Phoenix to Masters. Like this is when he's the last 3 years. Now last year he extended that into Memorial and Travelers and the FedEx Cup. Gross or net, I should say. But he's generally really feasted this stretch, and the injury has obviously made that a different calculation. Do you have any questions about him with the wind, playing in the wind, anything like? I don't think.
I think he struggles with golf when it kind of ties unpredictability.
Yes.
Is what he struggles with.
That's
this
what I was
ties
thinking.
to Pinehurst with the rough and the natives. He did not like that. He doesn't like the idea of when he hits a shot the way he thinks the way he thinks he should, an outcome being potentially different than he thinks it should.
Yep. I wouldn't want to say it like was doubting it, but that's exactly what kind of popped in my head on Saturday as he really got increasingly frustrated with some of it. And that just, it feeds itself into like the mental side and the expectations and the frustration of that. So I don't know. I'm not like worried about him in any way, but it's not been the season that it has been early.
I think the thing with Scotty, like everything's from this point forward is all going to be framed in the Augusta prep, right? Everything any pro does, you know, outside of somebody that has no stat, like even if somebody with no status wins next week, it's still like they got into Augusta, right? Like that's the big takeaway. But like everything he does is going to be geared towards that. And it's important to remember with Scotty that there's probably no golf course in the world that's better suited for Scotty Scheffler than Augusta National.
Maybe this one, close, but yes,
close.
Maybe it's close players, but yes, Augusta's way up there. I wouldn't be surprised. That said, I wouldn't be surprised to see him win Houston if he plays there. You know, he lost to it at the buzzer there last year.
Is Rory playing Houston, or is he going to go to San Antonio, or is he going to do both?
I don't know. I don't know if I would be surprised. Houston or San Antonio is kind of an ass kicker, can be, you know, not necessarily the best way to roll in. I think he might try Houston if I had to guess. Go play Memorial Park if I had to guess. But yeah, I could see Scotty winning there, picking that off. Anyways,
is Rory or Scotty the favorite for the Masters right now?
I don't know. Rory, I think Rory McIlroy is the favorite for now. In fact, you know, I know we're a gambling podcast. I think he is. You're talking to me also an hour and a half after he just won the Players, and Scotty finished T20 and hasn't won this year, and Rory has won multiple times. I think another quick thing with Scotty and the temper and the sort of frustration that was clearly on display. Like all the bullshit that comes with being number one, I don't know that that's totally his vibe, his life that he wants with the people around him and having to do questions and having all this shit. He's got all that. It's stuck with him. And now he's also not like necessarily winning in the way that he has the preceding 2 or 3 years. I think that's probably not his preferred way of going about things, but he's still got to deal with it, right? Crowds and the questions and all that stuff. Not his jam.
It's another thing that's impressive about Rory McIlroy's career is that he's basically been dealing with that intense scrutiny, attention for 18 years now that Scotty seems to be done with after 3 years of it.
Anyone crazy MCers you were like super disappointed in, alarmed by? Ludwig and Hideki missing. We don't need to go way back in the time machine here. Missing weren't great. I think were surprising given the skill set and the history there. Certainly for Hideki. Max Homa did not play well. You know, he said, "I know how hard I work. I know how much I care. It just feels more shitty for myself internally." People love this, and some probably hate it.
I feel like Homa needs a vacation right now.
He says, the way I work, I feel like I deserve to be the best player in the world at some point. I know that sounds crazy, but that's how I approach each day, is to be the best at it. Yeah, it's got to feel so painful to work that hard, and you keep getting, like, the proof of it is not there. So, you know, any MCers that really, like, disappointed you, or even guys who made the cut that you were sort of bummed by?
I think, like, there's questions about Xander.
Well, he's got an opportunity tonight, the SoFi Dome, to answer.
That's right. New York Golf Club. Big game tonight. We were going to unveil our power rankings today. I don't think we're going to have enough time.
Oh shit. Okay.
We'll just do it after the first round.
Okay.
You know, you could the way it shakes out is I think it goes Bay, Drive, Bay Drive, NYGC, LA was the way I had it. Frogs 5. So we'll see what happens after the playoffs.
Not going to head on the Jeep Links Frogs 5-6. Go ahead.
All right. I think the thing that we've seen with the golf schedule, the way it is, the way it's been constructed since the players moved back to the spring and the PGA moved into May, is it's like really important to play good golf early on. Like very, very important to be playing really good golf because the season is effectively so short. Things just come in rapid succession, and there aren't a lot of weeks where like you can play your way back into form. Like the early part of the schedule, you kind of play your way into major championship form, and that's why you have to feel so good about where Rory McIlroy is right now. It's similar to the arc of like what Scotty's done a couple of the last years, where he's like, you're like playing into the majors and it's like, I've been in all these situations. I've been in the cauldron. I've played well despite not having my best stuff. And for Xander right now, because of the injury, it just feels like he is now just trying to get himself ready to play high level golf. Like he did, watching him next to Scotty and Rory this week. Like it's a great opportunity when they do the super groups to see how everybody stacks up. And it was like very much like two guys are playing at one level. And Xander was not at that level. Anything
about the course or conditioning that piqued your interest? I will say,
how about 6?
It's got it. We found the rollback, Andy. We just need archways on every tee. I want the inflatable colon. I think that was an archway, PJ. We could just put that on a tee box, maybe activate it, get some sort of sponsor. We could have inflatable colons on some tee box. The scoring average went up. The missed fairway percentage went up. Let's just do that everywhere. Don't worry about tinkering a little bit with the ball or driver head. Let's just start constructing archways and clearance gates on all the tee boxes. It seemed to work. Guys did not super love that, but I loved going.
Did you see the
there.
Justin Ray tweet?
No.
Final tally on the 6th hole this week. Field hit 58.2% of fairways, the fewest there since 2011. 66 birdies for the week were 26 fewer than last year. I mean, you saw it. These guys. I saw Scotty Scheffler hit like maybe the worst shot I've ever seen him hit. It was like almost like a pull hook. It was just like basically like a dead pull off the tee. Trying to keep like a 3-wood down. You saw Rory struggle with it. Like I just think that I think that tee shot, I don't think it's good. I would not, I joked that we should just do it everywhere. I don't think we should, but I think it's not out of the question to occasionally ask these types of questions. Very rarely. Just occasionally. This is not a solution that you should roll out everywhere, but it was really fun to watch. That hole, I'd love the tour to get a little more creative and even play that hole up one day. I think that would be that'd be the most compelling drivable because of the trees and all the junk around the green. It would be really cool to see as a drivable 4.
Would be interesting. I did watch the video of them moving that tree in last night. It was interesting. Good content. I had someone from the tour. Someone from the tour did come up to me, comment and clarify. Yes, it was an estimate. Like we can't actually get 500,000 pounds to the precise number. I'm
surprised they didn't use the AI tool, the AI course setup tool presented by Morgan Stanley.
Presented by proud partner Morgan Stanley AI course setup tool. Yeah, that was going on. Nothing else from the course we didn't already say in the weeks leading up.
One other thing, my friend Brandel on Golf Channel was insisting that the golf course on Live From was not designed to be firm. It was not meant to be firm. It was not intended to be firm. That is just a lie. If he had read Bury Me in a Pop Bunker, Pete Dye's book, where he wrote an entire probably 30-page chapter on TPC Sawgrass, it was quite the opposite. He intended to have a firm and fast golf course playing like a UK links. So just wanted to clarify some misinformation that was going around, that TPC Sawgrass was not supposed to be firm.
March is end of a drier run there. And I think the Dormant Bermuda, NLU, and Tron were tweeting about that this morning. Locals saying like a lot of the courses in the area that are Dormant Bermuda are not soft in the way that Sawgrass is. And I'll just they put a lot of water and a lot of overseed into it. I think that's one quibble or more than a quibble, significant criticism we'd have. I guess I used to make a lot of fun of this event, right? But more of like the marketing around it. Like, don't try to tell me it's a major. Damn it, this is comically overhyped. I just each year I kind of get more into it. I'm kind of sold. I'm kind of
stop talking about it being a major.
I love the golf course more and more every time I go. Look, a lot of people are this way. Rory skipped it, for God's sakes. When back in the Chubby Chandler days, when his guys were like, "Oh, I'm a Euro Tour player. F you, I'm not playing." Like this. So I think that is sort of proof in the pudding that the more you go, or the more you are into, the more you sort of get exposure to it, it just keeps getting bigger, better, and more elevated in a way that's natural and not forced. And so that is one criticism, the overseed. And by the way, the run of winners, Scotty and Cam Smith and now Rory twice and Scotty twice. It's pretty stout. I mean, it's delivering on the Sunday afternoon or Monday morning now.
We talked about that there hadn't really
JT.
been a fluky winner since 2010 with Tim Clark, and we came
Yeah, we did.
so close to getting one this year.
We almost walked into that one. So I've come to like it each and every more and more it's exposed. And I don't know if that means it builds on its history and becomes a major but whatever. I'm really enjoying it. That's not me drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm happy to pop them and tell you I used to think this was sort of an amusement rather than a thing I enjoyed.
Hey, are we worried about the American Ryder Cup team? Is it too early to be worried?
No. DJ shot 63 this week. I'm not worried at all. Did you see that?
I was informed you did. I was informed by many that he was back. That you guys shouldn't have been saying he was retired. We're saying he's retired because he literally does not go practice anymore at the club that he practices at.
Yeah. Sergio
He literally is never seen at the place that he practices.
Joaquin Niemann, on the other hand, he's the number one player in the world. Congrats to him for winning. Congrats to the Fireballs winning 3 in a row. Not since the Aces did theirs in 22 have we seen a team go on this kind of hot streak. Sergio was sick and they still won. David Puig, notably on that side. Koepka might be trending. Koepka, Masters coming. He said he was just off, wasn't super happy with it, but he finished like 3rd. He might be getting his act together for major season. Should
Sergio be the next Ryder Cup captain based off how he's handled the Fireballs and turn them into this
maybe
unstoppable beat?
He was like super sick this week, I guess, and all 4 scores count. He played he was the worst score every day, but good enough. He's just guiding the ship. David Puig is playing his ass off.
Can I just read the American Ryder Cup team and you tell me how, the current 12 qualifiers, how you'd feel about this being your Bethpage squad? Scotty, Xander, Colin, Henley, Bryson, Spaun, McNeely, Cantlay, Glover, Finau, Harman, Thomas. I don't know how Harman's 11.
I mean, is he getting residual? No, it wouldn't be the Open anymore.
Does the players last year still count? Was that the first event? It must be.
Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't. It's a long way to go. Let's just put it that way. A long way to go. Brooksy will probably be in there. Spaun, I would guess, is not.
He's 6.
Look, it's impossible to win on the road.
Seconds.
It's very hard.
2 runner-ups.
They've got a lot going for him just by being at home. So,
to be fair, the European team has Nicholas Norgard, Laurie Canner, Paul Waring, in its group. So
Waring, he's not been good since getting his card on the PGA Tour. Paul Waring facts.
Septic tank's not even in.
Look, this conversation is not material.
I don't understand how the tank is not in.
It's not. Masters fact of the day. Fun fact: Sam Snead once played a practice round barefoot. How about that? What if you tried that this day and age?
Love that.
Might get pulled off the golf course barefoot. That's a quick fact.
Best thing is that the best way to use the ground is barefoot. Your feet get wider.
Yeah,
I've got a friend that's really deep into this. He's trying to build some golf shoes like this.
The Vibram five fingers or 5 toes kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Hovland switched to some old Nikes, because he thought he could feel the ground a little better than I think he was in Puma before. So, that's your Masters fact of the day. Sam Snead playing barefoot. I feel like they might not go for that. No. He might get a talking to like Jason Day with his sweater.
I do not think that this
would happen.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
I think we got PJ's got to get to the airport.
All right. We got a lot of follow about the alligators. I'll talk about that later. All right. Everyone enjoy your Mondays. Hey, listen to our quick little bit on Sunday night, little extra 20 minutes, even if you want that. So
call up Chapinski. He should install the car phone for is it tonight or tomorrow?
They're tomorrow. I'm sure they're gonna have some they gotta have something. He's a late ad, so maybe not. But NYGC, big New York sports night. Can they ride the Johnnies off this high for New York sports?
Hey, congratulations on the Johnnies. I know we talked a little bit about it yesterday, but I just want Big East championships don't grow on trees, right? Regular season and tournament.
No, none of these things have happened. So it's great. Very, very excited for next weekend.
All right, everyone, enjoy your Mondays, your Tuesdays. We'll be back with you for a Wednesday episode of the podcast. Thank you for your support of this for this podcast. Great week on the road, and people giving a shit about it at all enables us to do some cool stuff. And this week was cool. So thank you for listening.